You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 14, Episode 3, titled A Pair of Balls. My name's Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one garrulous co-host. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
I eat ass, you guys. Oh my god, it's so great.
To Taylor, the Latte Boy... Hello, Taylor the Latte Boy.
That was one that I could see, but I was more for Clip Zero, but I was focused on something else.
What did you predict? What did you predict?
Something about the coffee enemas.
Oh, see,
have you ever had a coffee enema?
No.
That felt very like, okay, Taylor the Latte Boy.
No.
We know that much I enjoy coffee.
So then,
I assumed.
Okay, off the air, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna let you off the air. This came up, that whole like, ew, and all that stuff, that shit that RuPaul was doing. People in the live, which is a great transition, actually. People in the live episode discussion were suggesting that be Clip Zero, and I said that's very good, but I can already hear Taylor going, "That's Clip Zero" to Babalu.
Yeah, so
it can't be Clip Zero. So. Which, by the way, I do have it in my notes about, this is where I do the Patreon plug, Yeah. And one of the things I realized yesterday is I rarely participate, but yesterday I did, is there is a very, 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 very wonderful and active Discord, but specifically a live episode discussion so that they watch the episode live with each other and they chat and they talk. And I want to reiterate again, for the record, okay? This community is so nice, so welcoming, so warm, so amazing, okay, and so fun that they would welcome you with open arms. Especially if you post immediately in the Porn Decor Lounge, as some people do.
I was going to say, especially if you post a thirst trap pic.
Yeah, but they open you with open arms and open legs, sometimes. And, but it's a and I was like, this is so fun. If, when I walk in the room, it's Boppy walk in the room so everyone gets weird. But like, Dad, I'm so jealous. I wish I could be one of those people. What I should do is make a fake Discord account. And walk amongst the people. And
posting thirst trap pics.
Sliding into DMs. Not giving my Snapchat out, doing all that. And then I would get to play with, like, I want to hang out with them, but I can't because they get all weird. Anyway, if you want to join, you can join at the premium level or whatever. Don't join at Basic Plus, but premium level. And you can get all those benefits and more over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. In fact, Taylor... I forgot to play this last week, but I actually have a listener, Tom from Australia, left a voicemail about why he likes the Discord. Not about at Patreon.
Hi, this is Tom from Australia, and I was ringing to say the reason I joined the Patreon was originally to have access to the Discord when I was going to have a lot of time off and be at home a lot last year. I wanted to chat with other people about the drag shows, and that was really great. But more than that, then, what I loved getting as well was the extra content, and particularly the shows with Laurie Roggenkamp. She is just so funny.
Shut it off. Shut it off.
Reined in by Joe. Her shows are incredible. So I cannot get enough Laurie. There is so much Laurie in this Patreon, and that's what I love about it.
Well, I like most of that message.
Yeah, about 80% of that is a great, great message.
Well, I know there's one listener out there from Down Under who does not like that Laurie isn't his favorite part. Do you remember the listener from Down Under who just got so mad that Laurie made fun of the older pit crew guy? Also, Taylor, in other news before we get into the show, we got an email And this is a correction. We had someone, Detective Andrew.
Okay.
Listener named Andrew. The subject line was Lady Camden, how old? And he wrote, "Hi, Joe and Taylor. Andrew in London here. Like you, I think this Lady Camden looks like an old woman from some angles. For sure, way older than 31. So, I have checked the paywalled National Register of Births, Marriages, and Deaths for England, and she really is 31. Here's the entry for her birth. He used her birth name. I won't give it here. Even though you can look it up very easily, I'm just not going to give it. And it shows that she was born, when she said she was born. And he mentions her mother. She's a vintage clothing dealer in London, and she's been posting about Camden on Instagram. And he posted the Instagram there. And so he goes, there you go. It's a treat to have you guys recapping the show again. Love and good wishes, Andrew. So thank you,
Nancy Andrew.
Yeah, for setting the record straight. So
that's awesome.
So now so here's the deal. I know people were like, that was really dicky of Joe. I feel this is bad news. That means Lady Camden looks like that at 31. Like an old lady.
What's she going to look like when she's our age?
Dust. A pile of dust. Yeah. So I don't know. Dame Judi Dench, who I think actually looks great for her age. I don't know how old she is. But
Judi Dench looks awesome for her age. I love Judi Dench.
Who do you like more, the Barefoot Contessa or Judi Dench?
Barefoot Contessa. We watched 2 episodes of that this morning. Because now I can play up the I don't feel good. Can we watch a Barefoot Contessa?
Oh, does Babalu not like it?
Yes.
Does Babalu not like
No, it's not that he doesn't like it. There's other shows that we watch that I think he would rather watch. But that's a Saturday morning, like, it's light. You don't have to think. You can play on your phone while you're watching it. We like to Mystery Science Theater 3000 it. Where we say that she's actually secretly a horrible person, and so we mutter things that she mutters things under her breath while she's talking, and
there used to be
it's a fun activity.
There used to be this iconic dive gay bar in Venice Beach, California called Roosterfish. It still exists, but now they turned it into a swanky gay bar that no gay people go into, and it's only like white people going, we're at a gay bar, and it's a $15 bottle of water or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it used to be like a dive gay bar. And they used to have this, like, not my version of hot, but like your version of hot, like bartender. And he had a name that started with a K sound, but it was like Kane or something like that, right? Like a cute gay porn star name. But so
yeah.
Caleb. Yeah, like that. Yes, Caleb. West End Caleb. So he used to, which by the way, I'm going to listen to this in 3 years and go, who the fuck is West End Caleb? But West Elm Caleb. Who's West Elm Caleb? And
I don't know who West Elm Caleb is.
Oh, you just picked Caleb out of thin air?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a gay porn name.
That is so weird. You just tapped into like the zeitgeist accidentally. So right now the big social media storm is about this guy named West Elm Caleb, right? And on TikTok, all these girls I believe in New York or London, I think, are I don't know where anything is, are writing about this guy, and it actually came up accidentally. Someone on TikTok made a TikTok about how a guy named Caleb had love bombed her and then ghosted her. And all these women started to respond going, is it this guy, this guy, this guy? And it wasn't. But what it uncovered was there was this guy who said he worked at West Elm and he would love bomb these women multiple at a time and then ghost them. And it's blowing up social media. Everyone's talking about it. Gay people are somehow involved, even though the straight people are usually saying things like, that's just called being gay, or something like that. And, so that's literally the name of the moment right now. And so it's funny that you said that. Anyway, well, now for future Joe, I've just explained what that joke means. But, anyway, Taylor, so this guy, this like quote unquote hot guy did this. He worked days. He worked when only sad like people went in. He worked from like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something like that, right? And he did a thing called Cooking with Caleb. And you'd go in and there'd be special drink specials. And he would just, which is such a brilliant idea, he was just bartending and being the hot guy that Caleb is, But on the TV screen, they had Food Network cooking shows. And so you could go in and watch these cooking shows and have a few drinks and, flirt with Caleb. And I was thinking that because there was a brief moment this week where I thought about quitting Afterthought Media, and like I do every week. And I was like, I could just open up a coffee shop and I would just play cooking shows all day. People could go and have coffee and watch this smelly barefoot Contessa.
Stop.
And
I love her.
This horrible actually I don't have Rachel Ray. I don't like this Rachel Ray. Like, they could just,
no, she's horrible.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one. She is horrible.
We could just watch those shows, and because Food Network doesn't really do those cooking shows anymore, right?
No, they do. They do. It's just that a lot of the things at night are all that Guy Fieri or Chopped. But Chopped comes on, I think Chopped is only one night a week, but they do show what I remember is they usually tend to pick a show a day, and then it is that show all day. And they show all of the new episodes on the weekends. So because I remember when I was in the hospital years ago, Valerie Bertinelli has a cooking show on Food Network, and I kept falling asleep and waking up, and I was very confused as to why she was putting, chocolate sauce in a meatloaf or in a pot roast sort of thing. And I was they're like, oh no, I've been asleep for 45 minutes. It's a completely different episode. So they do things like that. But Chopped is one of those shows that I never really watch it, but when I do, I absolutely love it because it is. I love all of the judges on it and how panicked the judges get.
Oh, I don't watch it because it makes me really stressed. Like when I watch food shows, I want to be relaxed. I don't want to be like, I can't pay my car bill. I hope I win this money so that I can live another day.
Well, Chopped has become sort of a thing where that was a bonding moment for the woman who cuts my hair and I, because where I used to get my hair cut, they had TVs at each station, and she would say, we can watch whatever you want. And I'm like, let's watch Food Network, because I didn't have cable TV at that point. And Chopped was always on Tuesday nights from 5 to 6. So she and I would talk about Chopped the whole time and what do we think they could do and all of that kind of stuff. So that became sort of a point of anytime I see Chopped, I fondly think of the woman who cuts my hair, which is an odd correlation, but it's just what I like. And at Christmas, our holiday party was catered by somebody who almost won Chopped, who was like a friend of a coworker. So she came in and she did all the food for it. And it was really good. Thank you.
This week, 2 queens are brought back in the race, and all 14 are given special chocolate bars. Well, next, the queens create 3 looks each for one of the 2 balls taking place. In the end, Willow Pill is named the winner, while June Jambalaya and Maddie Morphosis are placed in the bottom 2. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Maddie is told, Shantae, you stay, while June is asked to sashay away. Taylor the Latte Boy named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
It would be easier to list 2 things I did not like and 1 thing I did. This was a very messy episode to me, that they are not even subtly trying to tell you what to think with this episode. The manipulation is just gross. So I was not a fan of this episode, and I love the ball challenges. Those are always my favorite one because I like the looks. But even then, it just was very lackluster to me. Something that I liked that it was the ball challenge. I liked the idea that they split the girls up into 2 teams, for lack of a better word, to have 2 different themes. That's the one thing I liked. I didn't like the fact that they brought Orion and Daya back, and I do not like the manipulation that they did with this episode. What about you?
So, I think I'm very interested to explore this because I actually, and this is going to relate to my second thing I liked. They all relate together, but I really liked. I felt a lot of the moments that are usually, and probably still are, very producer driven, felt very authentic. They felt genuine. They didn't feel, to me, forced. They may have been, but they didn't feel it, okay? That's one thing I liked. Number 2, what I will say is what a wonderful and lovely group of contestants we have. Like, there's not one that I really dislike at all. There's no Candy Muse. There's no one problematic. Everyone is perfectly lovely. I mean, my biggest problem is Orion's hair, but
I agree with you on that too.
They're all people that I genuinely think are really good people and really nice people. Now, the one thing I didn't like is what a wonderful group and lovely group of girls this is.
Yep. I was going to say but there's a problem with that, and I'm glad that you addressed that. So go ahead.
Yeah, is that, it's wonderful. I mean, it is. It's very nice that they all get along. It makes for some pretty boring television.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, yeah, and I mean, we can talk about, I mean, there are moments that, today, but, it's almost, again, like they blew their load with this episode where it's like, okay, this is where you and I might differ, is, the moments like with Cornbread crying and running out and, the Dragonfly and the Orion's mom committing suicide. And it just seemed like everybody was just spilling their guts on elimination. It was like everyone it was a crying mess. I don't even see where else they have to go for another 11 episodes, So, that's the thing that I'm like, well, I mean, like, let's see where this goes because they all get along. And unless someone completely changes their personality, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. And that's kind of part of there's the manipulation on the producer's part, I think, but there is also this where we have reached a point in this show of where I feel like the casts are going to get more and more, which we kind of saw this with the elimination this week, as it was talked about again on Untucked, of they are very aware of what happens after they leave. And that is something that now plays in their mind more so than just being in the competition. And as a result, I think we're going to get more and more of these nice casts with maybe the one or two odd, I think Candy Muse last year was an example of that, of where she was so not, at least initially, playing the nice girl that I think it's going to make it's really going to come down to how they do in the challenges versus, the behind the scenes stuff. Because the behind the scenes stuff, I think, is just going to be boring. And that concerns me, considering we're only episode 3 in.
Yeah. Because usually, I'll be honest with you, there's an inverse relationship with the show and Untucked, in that the show gets more interesting usually as the season goes on. You become more invested in the girls, and it narrows down the competition and becomes a horse race, usually after Snatch Game, becomes more of a the competition really heats up right after Snatch Game, the way it's timed out. Untucked is usually the opposite. Untucked usually carries the heavy load in the beginning, and there's a lot of fighting and drama and intensity. And then as the season goes on, and there are fewer girls, and they become more friendly with each other, Untucked becomes more boring. So it's an important relationship between the two shows. But Untucked is already a love fest. It's been a love fest the entire time. And so, there's no girl who wants to go in there and make their moment. I don't know. Look, ultimately it sounds like I'm cheering for evil and awful, and I'm not, but in terms of a television show and compelling television, I am. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. All right. Well, after Daya's elimination, Daya herself deems herself the lip sync assassin. The week 1 queens re-enter the workroom, and Willow meets Georges and complains that Willow's no longer the smallest queen. The next day, RuPaul enters the workroom and announces that Orion Story and Daya Betty have been invited to return to the race. Next, Ru calls the pit crew forth, and they wheel in a cart carrying 14 RuPaul chocolate bars. Ru explains that one of these chocolate bars is a special gold bar. The eliminated queen who opens her chocolate bar and discovers it's gold will earn a spot back in the competition. Finally, Ru announces this week's Maxi Challenge. Not 1, but 2 balls. The week 1 queens will serve 3 looks for the animal print themed hide and chic ball, while the week 2 queens will walk in the patriotic red, white, and blue ball. The Tale of the Latte Boy, both a lot to unpack and yet nothing to unpack. What did you think of everything that happened here?
Well, the first thing that I noticed was as soon as they all walked back into the workroom, Maddie took off her dress. and was basically standing there in her underwear and a baseball cap.
Okay.
Which I thought was very unusual. I get that she had the outfit with the head and, where she was like the headless person, but to do that just felt weird to me. It was weird because then it's like where it's all of these queens and, a boy with makeup on standing next to all of them. I didn't necessarily like that. Did you notice that at all, or did you have any
I didn't
thoughts
notice
on
that at all, which is funny because I tried watching closely and I didn't even notice it.
Okay. So then the first group comes in with what I would consider to be very, very lackluster looks. But I also think they knew that was only for like a brief, they weren't going to get a whole episode out of this and they weren't going to be judged for it. So I think that it looks like they picked some of their least polished looks for that.
For what? What are you talking about?
When the first group came in and they were all in drag.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I jumped forward. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So it just felt very like, some of the looks were just like, oh, that's not a great look for them. Like especially like the one that comes to mind is, Cornbread with that weird little Dorothy Hamill blonde bowl cut thing was just an odd. I can't imagine her wearing something like that on the runway and not expecting to be read for filth for it. I found it interesting that, and this kind of speaks to the machine of the show now, is that a lot of the girls who didn't know each other were familiar with each other. They were like, oh my gosh, this one's here. And, I'm a huge fan of this one and that sort of stuff. And I think it just sort of speaks to the culture or community of drag, where it is now, it's not just about where you have no idea who anybody is coming in through the door, and I think that kind of takes away from this because it's almost like an extra layer it's almost extra credit for homework of knowing who all of these other girls are, whether they're Instagram girls or whether they're like Carrie, the daughter of Sasha Colby, or it rather than just kind of getting to know the girls one-on-one. That was my thought. I have a couple of other thoughts, but I want to give you a chance to talk.
Deja Skye was so cringy when she was like, RuPaul herself said, looks like we have a lip sync assassin. I'm like, and I wonder when she watched the episode back, was she like, because I didn't think her lip sync, I didn't think it was bad, but I don't know why RuPaul said that. I think RuPaul was just trying to stir up shit because she knows if she calls someone that, it can stir shit up. Because there was nothing about Deja's lip sync that made her a lip sync assassin. And so like, but the way she was wearing that badge of honor was just like, it was very arched eyebrows. She looks like, is it the movie Zootopia with one of the people that works at the DMV or something like that? Like, there's like, I have an image of a cartoon fish with like pearls and those kind of glasses. Maybe it's SpongeBob SquarePants. Maybe it's Zootopia. I'm just thinking an anthropomorphic like fish or something. Maybe. Well,
I mean, with the big glasses and the big head, there's Edna Mode from The Incredibles.
That's okay. No, not that. No, not her. It's like maybe has someone posted in the Discord like a big...
Somebody trots away said in Monsters Inc. the Slug Lady.
Yes, that's who I think it is. Can someone post a picture of the Monsters Inc. Slug Lady? There was something going on where I was like, she looks like a cartoon character that I've seen before. And she's going there like, looks like we have, like we have a lip sync assassin here, right? Anyway, another thing that was like, poor Alicia Keys. She's been there the whole fucking day.
She seemed happier with this part than she did when she talked the first time, and I think that's because there was a limo with the engine running outside waiting to take her home.
Yeah.
I could do this and it's going to take 10 seconds. Fine.
Yeah. All right, fine. But that was my only thoughts on that part. Now, let's go back to the next day. Your any thoughts big on the next day when they come in?
When I wrote Girls Are Back, what? I like Diabetti.
Sure. We know you do.
But I was slightly crestfallen because in my mind, I'm like, that means there's 2 more episodes. Where it was just sort of like, oh, you got to be kidding. Like we're starting from scratch. I didn't, I think at this point, they didn't let back Kelly Mantle and Magnolia Crawford, so they shouldn't have. I was a little disappointed with that. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I like Diabetes' looks on the runway. The golden bar.
Yeah.
It's a dumb twist.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really dumb twist.
Yeah.
And I think it potentially saves Rue from doing a double Shantae, where she doesn't have to be the one to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that there is no way that the producers haven't already picked which girl got the bar.
Okay.
Unless it is where they signed it. They signed on the piece of paper or on the fold of the bar to where it kind of crosses over to where the signature's on both sides of the paper as it's wrapped around. Because that could be easily manipulated to somebody else to when they realize it would make for a good story if we just kind of switch out the bars. That is my thought on that.
Taylor, I talk about this a bit, but I'm going to sort of lay down some things here. As a magician, my antennas already perked up when I saw what was going on. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't get too into it because of the secret council of magic I'm in. Or what do they call it? Which is clearly they're making fun of the Magic Castle, which I'm a member of, on Arrested Development. But what do they call it there on Arrested Development? I don't remember.
Oh, God. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called. And there's one on Big Mouth, too, where one of the characters is friends with a bunch of magicians, and it's the same. It's called, like, the Secret Order or something like that.
Yeah. And that's basically what I'm part of. Taylor's laughing.
It's Lauren S. says, what other Drag Race podcast can have a host say, as a magician?
Yeah. As a magician, I was already able to think, and I can't discuss the methods, of 100 different ways that they could swap it out.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the telling signs was the signing, and it just seemed very overproved. And you keep it, you're going to sign it, you're going to keep it. Because notice, if you really wanted it to be random, right? If you really wanted it to be random, you would say, after you're eliminated, we're going to wheel out this table, and you can just pick among the chocolate bars, right? And if you pick the one that is a gold bar, then you get the steak. There's no way the producers could force that.
Sure they could. Sure they could.
No,
they could do where they could have where it is nothing but gold bars.
You're right. Never thought about that. You're right. But the point is, as a magician, this overproving made me think, oh, they're totally going to manipulate this. And there's a million ways that you could do it. Because also, too, in magic, when you really want to show, by the way, if a magician has to do that, that means that your signature means nothing, right? They would say, sign it wherever you want. Mm-hmm. Sign all over the candy bar. We don't care, right? Because then that's harder to pull off. But if you notice, they had to go on a board, and they never showed you, and it was very specific. You could tell where they had to sign. And I'm like, that specificity and the fact that they had to do it one by one on this clipboard, there's something going on, and there's a million ways that they could do that and switch it out. Because remember, too, they're not going to make let's say the girls truly are holding that chocolate bar, and they go, okay, well, bring your chocolate bar to the main stage. There's no way they're going to make them hold it in their boobs while they're...
Right. When June pulled it out, like the lipstick on All Stars, I'm like, that would be a hot, sweaty mess if that was again, they're manipulating us into thinking. Now, I also don't think that on All Stars, the lip sync assassins actually dance with the lipstick, but that one's slightly more plausible than a chocolate bar in their bra.
Yeah. So they're like, give us the chocolate bar. We'll hold it for you. I'm like, I bet you will. And
feverishly standing over a steaming pot of water.
Yeah.
Trying to.
And by the way, notice that June never they might even be simple like this does not have your signature on it, right? And so like June never showed, look, here's my signature and I'm opening. She just opened it. Yeah. I mean, it could be not even magic,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's 100% bullshit.
Yes.
So, Orion should always wear a beanie.
I can see that. Yes.
In the confessional,
we don't have the weird bowl cut.
Yeah. In the confessionals, I was like, ugh, right? But when I would see him in the work, I'm like, who is that fucking hot piece of ass, right? But he's wearing a beanie.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, did you notice there was no She Already Done Had Herses?
I don't think there normally is when they first all come back. I think she just kind of walks in and says something along the lines of like, everybody's here or something like that.
Right.
I don't.
Let's see how it goes. Don't ever cross me again. All right. Have you said Have you said everything you want to say about this
first act? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break now? When we come back, we are going to cover the rest of the episode. We'll be back right after this.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Taylor in the workroom. The first crop of queens learn about Maddie's heterosexuality. Maddie finds a dead dragonfly. Cornbread pays Diabetes $1,000 to eat the dragonfly. Willow struggles to thread her needle, and Cornbread learns Diabetes' name. Your thoughts on everything that happened in the workroom? There were 2 workroom segments, but we mushed them into one. Any big thoughts here, Taylor?
The Maddie, I get that the other team didn't necessarily know it yet about Maddie being straight. I don't want this to be the focus of every time they talk about Maddie, that she's a straight performer. Mm-hmm. Like at some point, it's just got to be, she's either part of the group or she's not. And I just don't want that to be the focus because I'm already bored with it, quite frankly. So I thought it was interesting. I actually think I meant to mention this in the last thing, but my notes kind of got jumbled. It's weird that Ru picked for the second group to do a red, white, and blue challenge just because that was the photos, the cast photos for season 12. Mm-hmm. So to be going back to that as a theme with that having only been a year or 2 ago just was sort of an odd, like, oh, okay, why are we doing that? Mm-hmm. So I wrote down June not being able to sew is worrisome, which is, as we saw, then she had a reason to be worried. Mm-hmm. And a couple of other things. But what are your thoughts so far?
Well, Taylor, I have them right here in my notes. Like you, I was like, I really hope this is the fucking last of the Maddie Straight storyline. Because you know what the thing is, too, is it gives power to heterosexuality. To cis, white, male heterosexuality. Like, oh, you're straight. Oh, my God. I'm just like, okay, who cares? Right?
Yeah. Well, they'll bring it up at least one more time if they do a video message from home. Because he mentioned the girlfriend. So it'll be the girlfriend talking to Maddie.
Hi, Maddie. It's me. I just want to tell you back at home, we're all rooting for you. I miss you. Bring that crown home, baby. I love you. Then Maddie starts crying and she's like, before, wait, hold on here for a second. I got it here. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
You got this, girl. You got this. It's just that before I met her, I didn't have anybody in my life. I was alone. I was a straight guy in Fayetteville, Arkansas. There was this weird gay guy I knew who works for Walmart who said, just ask God for forgiveness right before you die. And then we went to Whataburger. But she met me and she showed me there was another way. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forgive her. And then a week later they break up.
Right.
They've already broken up. Which sort of reminds me of like Alaska and Sharon when they were like, oh, I miss my boyfriend. I think they already were having problems or broken up or something like that during season 5.
Yeah.
Anyway. June said that she worked as a personal stylist, and I was like, not after this. What horror? I mean, the part that she fucked up on is the part that a personal stylist, she's like, I don't know when to stop. And I'm like, you're a personal stylist.
Right.
And then there's a part. Go ahead.
No, that just wasn't a good. She was not painting herself in the best light.
No. Then there was a part where they were talking to Carrie, and they said like, "Oh, you can just stone the seam or something like that." And the whole thing about Sharon Stone. Do you really believe they didn't know who Sharon Stone was? Like that?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. I just saw a video of 2 girls were being interviewed on the street, and it was the picture of Madonna kissing Britney Spears at the VMA, and they had no idea who Madonna was. So I think that you figure that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think that we are just kind of to that point. You and I are of that age of things that we remember and stuff that the younger generation have no idea. And Sharon Stone has not been a big name celebrity 25 years. What was the last thing that Sharon Stone did that everybody talked about how amazing she was in?
Power of the Dog.
I don't know what that is.
She played Bronco Henry in Power of the Dog. All right. Let's talk about
dumb.
Let's talk about this dead dragonfly. What were you thinking there? So what happened for people is that, Maddie finds a dead dragonfly on the floor, and Cornbread pays Diabetti $1,000 to eat said dragonfly. And then she does, which Diabetti does eat the dragonfly, and presumably Cornbread, Venmoed her $1,000 tax free. So, tell me about that. Tell me what your thoughts were.
I mean, I had down the question, would you eat a dragonfly for $1,000? So, and I think the answer, but would you eat a dragonfly for $1,000?
No.
I would. But I think that it was smart on both their parts, because it allows Cornbread camera time, even though she was kind of standing off to the side, and it allows Dia to get some, where that's pretty much where that's almost like, her own personal mini challenge that she gets to be the winner of if she pops this dragonfly in her mouth. So as far as camera time goes, it was a moment that we are talking about now. Yeah. I think it was very, very smart on both their parts to do that.
I'm afraid of bugs, spiders, and snakes. So I was so grossed out that I literally closed my eyes. I refused to watch. And I just listened. I've never seen it. Let me tell you this. When she put it near her mouth, I was eyes closed, listening for when it was over. And it was disgusting. I will say, and I have this down for the entire segment, Cornbread really is the star and hero of the season, man.
Yep.
He is.
That was my... Yep.
Go ahead.
No, that was my next statement. And this goes back to that manipulation that I think is we are seeing, at least this early on, we are seeing the Bianca Del Rio edit, I think, of where they're showing her as being very funny, very sassy, but also very kind and very much, where she wants to be supportive, which we definitely saw that as the girls got more and more, the group got smaller and it got down to the girls that she really liked. And I feel like we're seeing that early on.
Yeah.
It feels like they're already telegraphing, well, we know that we already have a winner. We just have to go through all of this because.
Oh, really? You think she's clearly the winner?
I think as of right now, I think she is, at the very least, she is top 4. But I think that she's the winner so far. If they had to crown somebody today, it would be her.
Speaking of the manipulation, I see the Willow pill manipulation. I see it. I acknowledge it. I mentioned it last week. But I have to admit, though I see it, it's working on me. Right? Like, I feel sorry for Willow pill. Oh my God, I can't believe she has this, disease that makes her fingers cold and numb, and oh my God, Willow pill. And I know the manipulation is happening, but it doesn't mean that I don't feel, right? And so, it's making me mad that I'm falling for it, but I am.
Yeah.
And I love Taylor. That Cornbread legit thought her name was Diabetica.
Which is actually kind of a better name.
It is kind of a better name.
Yeah.
She should change her name to Diabetica.
But that's she should change her name to Diabetica. But that, I think, also speaks to when you have this moment with her with the cornbread, with the dragonfly, and then you juxtapose it from, I'm going to pay you $1,000 to eat this dragonfly, to, can I get you a warm cup of coffee so that you can warm your hands up, to where I'm going to mispronounce your name and I'm going to be apologetic about it. And even in the first act where she asks, who's the messy queen, to the other group, and when they go, well, who's it on your side? She was like, oh, I have no problem saying I'm the messy. Like, she is so charming. And she is just so where she seems very quick, and she can read the room immediately. That is a skill that we definitely don't always see these queens have. And that is going to take her very far, if not all the way to the crown.
Well, I think she has a skill that I think it's innate. I don't think it's necessarily conscious, but she's able to play. And I really do mean 3D chess in the best way possible, in that she's able to play in the competition. She's also able to play the girls in the room, and also tug at the heartstrings of even more, because then you have to think about, she's thinking about making it an easy job for the producers and editors by giving them content. She's very nice to the girls in the room, and not in a very fake way. She's great in the competition, but also about the reaction at home. And she's playing, she has multiple things going on at once. Because even, and we're going to talk about this in 1 second, and I'm not going to go in depth about it, but just the way she handled that Elimination Day mirror moment, where I think a lesser queen would have turned that into a moment, she didn't.
Yeah.
She left the room and came back and didn't dwell on it. I mean, they talked about it in confessional because clearly the producers wanted to get into it, but she didn't turn it into a workroom moment. Probably cognizant of the fact that she knew the producers would ask her and that she would be able to talk about it, but still, yeah. So she's at the top of this reality show game. Let's actually talk about that Elimination Day. It's Elimination Day, and the queens get ready for the runway. June pulls Orion aside to lament and celebrate Orion's return. Lady Camden cackles at Angeria's accent. Orion shares a deeply personal story about the loss of her mother. Carrie shares her struggle as a young trans person and triggers Cornbread, who leaves the workroom in tears. Taylor the Latte Boy, your thoughts on Elimination Day? You are a licensed mental health professional, so I'm sure, there was a lot going on in this Elimination Day. And you know what's so funny? You have written so many books on so many topics, yet none on mental health, what I think is so funny. Why is that?
Because I want people to have to come to me.
True.
To glean the wisdom of Dr. Taylor, the Latte Boy DDS. I want them to sit at the knee of Dr. Taylor, the Latte Boy DDS, and hear me one-on-one.
Yeah, no, I agree. But so let me actually guide this one, because there's a lot to cover here, and you are our expert today. Let's first talk about June pulling Orion aside and saying, let me tell you something. I was mad that you're here, but I'm glad you're here. What did you think of this whole moment? What was the point of that? What was that?
I don't know. I don't know what the point of that could be. And I just wrote, what are they trying to do with the June storyline? Mm-hmm. Because over her episode 1 and this one, it's just this weird of where, and this might just be my opinion, but it's almost like we want you to root for her, mm-hmm. but we also acknowledge she's a big mess. Mm-hmm. Where she's just sloppy, mm-hmm. On not a cognitive, but on an emotional level, there's mm-hmm. just a lot going on there. And I don't know how that benefits a potential relationship with Orion. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel as though it's an honest relationship as far as talking about, and they talk about it in Untucked with Daya a little bit as well, of the frustration of feeling like, okay, we just got rid of 2 of them and now those 2 are back. Mm-hmm. That it is sort of this like, okay, well now I went from having a 1 in 12 to, 4 seconds later, now I'm 1 in 14. Mm-hmm. So, and I think there's a way that could have been addressed or could have been discussed that would have benefited everybody, at least benefited June at that point. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you're right. And to contrast it with what we just talked about, it's one of these things where I don't think Cornbread would have handled it that way. There's a way of handling that moment. Well, first of all, pulling someone aside is kind of dramatic. Okay, first of all. 2, is I feel there's a more elegant way of saying that same thing, instead of saying, I was disappointed to see you return, Yeah. It was just sort of bizarre. It was very, very strange. You could even tell, Kennedy was like, what's going on here? Is that her name? That's Kennedy Davenport.
Who's the one that was sitting there?
Who's
Jasmine?
Anne Hathaway? What's her name? Oh, Jasmine.
Yeah.
She should change her to Jasmine Hathaway because she reminds me of Anne Hathaway. There's something about her that is very Anne Hathaway to me.
It's the jawline.
Oh, okay. Anne Hathaway has a man's jaw. So,
you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
First, folks.
Okay. Well, take him to the hospital. Anyway. So let's move on. I have a question for you. How long before Angeria and Lady Camden fuck?
I think much shorter than we all realize. It's probably already happened.
Yeah.
And the way that the 2 of them seem to talk to each other, where there seems to be this connection from right when they first walked in, is very cute to watch.
Yeah.
It's very similar to, though that was a lot more obvious, but the Eureka Trinity kind of flirtation thing that they had going on in All-Star 6 this last season, where it's kind of cute to watch them kind of be sort of flirty and busting each other's stones and all of that sort of thing. So I enjoyed that moment.
But do you believe that do you think Angeria is really attracted to Lady Camden? For sure is into Angeria. Do you think Angeria is into Lady Camden?
Maybe.
Yeah. I think Lady Camden about to die and Angeria wanted her to be happy. That's an old.
This show
reference.
is so old. There are people that are not going to get that reference. That's the thing that sucks about that is one of those funny statements that there are the children that are that started at like season 8 or 9 are going to have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk about the big moments here. First of all, let's talk about Orion revealing that his mother committed suicide. And that everything he does, the reason he does drag is to honor her and whatnot. What were your thoughts here?
As far as suicide goes, as far as her being the survivor of someone who completed suicide, I give Orion credit for that, because what she did in talking about that, specifically talking about the way in which her mother died, is she took away, or she potentially has taken away some of the stigma that I know a lot of families feel about having a loved one complete suicide.
Yeah.
And talking about that, it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel the feelings that you have, and it's okay to honor that person. A lot of times people see suicide as something that weak people do, or, and then there's kind of that kind of goes along with whenever you think of that person, you think of more how they died versus how they lived. And the fact that she wants to honor her mother with the outfit that she's wearing today and everything, I thought was very nice, very great. Speaking to who her mom is through her drag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, I was very angry because I was like, ugh, no, I can't say mean things about Orion. But
Sure you can. Just don't say mean things about her mother committing suicide.
I would never do that. Mental health, and I've told this to somebody recently, it's we have to start realizing it's a disease. It's not a weakness, you know. And I think the same thing is true as well with like any kind of addiction, whether it be alcohol or drugs. Is the person has a disease. And so when a person, for instance, committed suicide, you said completed suicide. Now you are the mental health professional, but to me, suicide is the end result of someone dying from a disease, the way someone dies from cancer, or another lung disease, you know? No, I don't know. Yeah. And it's just, you know,
it can be. There can be other things, but yeah.
They had an illness and whatnot. So, and I you know, it would be horrible and awful to, you know, what's really funny. I'll give some tease. I have a friend and I found out something very interesting recently to underline what you just said is years ago, 20 years ago, I think it was, her brother committed suicide and it was one of the hardest funerals I've ever been to. Okay. It's a difficult funeral. And I could tell stories, but I would cry and whatnot, right? That's how horrible the funeral was. But we were all on a Zoom call later, and she mentioned that we were in a group of friends that it'd been 20 years since he passed away. And she has children. They're like 11 and 9 or something like that. And she said, I'm now... We were shocked when she said this, by the way. She was like, you know, my husband and I were considering telling them that he existed. Like they had hid his existence from them. But I think it's because I don't think it's out of a meanness. I don't hold her. I think it's one of these things that it's so difficult to confront that it's easier just to pretend, you know?
That's what I was going to say is if she reveals to her children that this person lived, then there are follow-up questions to that may involve very difficult conversations.
Yeah, and now she feels that they're old enough to hear about it. But I was thinking about like, oh, how interesting, you know, because that's just very, very interesting. So, my heart goes out to Orion. Let's also talk about Carrie Colby. Now, by the way, unfortunately, Carrie Colby had her moment, I wouldn't say stolen, but overshadowed by what happened with Cornbread. But Carrie Colby was sharing about the difficulty of, she knew, you know, she was trans and you know, kids nowadays, it's easier, not easy, but it's a little easier than it was 20 years ago to present that to your families. And so that's a sad story, but it triggered an emotional reaction on Cornbread's part. And we later learned that Cornbread had left her house, and even more heartbreaking than that, when she was in high school, that her family didn't go looking for her. And I wanted to know your thoughts and weigh in on this.
Well, I think that, again, as you talked about, that seemed to be a very genuine reaction from Cornbread. Whereas I think that we've seen other queens, as you said in the past, kind of not to think, oh, this is, I can have a moment. And it didn't feel like she was having a moment in this. She wasn't looking for camera time. Let me rephrase that. It reminds me, because we have since learned that Cornbread is transitioning, that it reminds me, or has begun, or is in the process of transitioning. It reminded me kind of when you look back now at season 6 and some of the things that Gia Gunn mentioned and some of the anger that Gia Gunn had towards like somebody like Milk, and calling them dudes and all of that sort of stuff. I almost wonder if she was thinking about the things that Carrie was saying, on a completely different level than she was willing to share with the cameras at that time, with the producers. So adding on top of that, just the idea of, because there were things that I think that she just wasn't ready to reveal on TV yet. It was so, I have had many clients who have had stories similar to Cornbread, particularly clients of color, where they have, I was thrown out at like 15 and I couch surfed at friends' houses and I did all of that sort of stuff. And it's incredibly sad that we still live in a community that does not take care of our queer children.
Which is so funny, because to me, that in and of itself disproves the idea that this is a choice. Why would a child choose to give up their home, their comfort, their security so that they could be, a different gender or love the same gender? It boggles my mind, Taylor. I'll be honest with you. By the way, go ahead.
Unfortunately, it's out there, and I was very fortunate that I had two parents who were very supportive of me, but I also purposely did not come out until I was in my early 20s. Mm-hmm. And part of that was, it's one of the few things that I've ever said to my father that he said hurt his feelings, was I said part of the reason I didn't come out until later was I wanted to make sure that he would continue paying for college. Mm-hmm. Because my fear was that he would have said, well, fuck you, faggot, you're on your own. And I had no way to pay for school. So, and he said, well, that really hurts my feelings. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I said, but I was in survival mode at that point. So I understand. I understand the pain. I can only imagine. I can only think I can understand the pain that Cornbread was going through in that moment.
At first, she didn't say right away why she was crying. At first, I thought it was tears of joy because she realized the doors that Gia Gunn had opened for her and Carrie Colby. But it wasn't. It wasn't that at all.
No.
All right, Taylor. It is now time for the main stage. Oh, wait. As you know, I don't like to talk about the looks. Okay. And since this was a ball episode, and by the way, everyone, to get detailed thoughts on the looks, you should go listen to our show, Bring It to the Runway. Christian and Robert are going to painstakingly detail and go over every single look, and they're going to do it with humor and sass and wisdom, right? Bring It to the Runway, an Afterthought Media show. Listen to it to get the tea on all the looks. But we're going to talk about it a little bit. But Taylor, I don't like to talk about the looks. So I booked a very special guest to go over the looks with you. And I hope you enjoy it. Here we go.
Welcome to the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. Style superstar Carson Kressley. Now, have you ever met a pair of balls you didn't like?
No, because they're usually balls deep inside of me, shooting cum inside of my pussy. Hi, Taylor. It's me, Carson Kressley, style superstar.
Carson, you look amazing today.
I sure do. You wouldn't think so with all the cum dripping down my leg.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. And my pussy's even more wet to be here. Are you ready to talk about these looks, Taylor?
Yes, and I decided to help Joe out by saying a yes or no next to each look. So whether or not I liked it, I'm just
fuck Joe.
boiling it down. I'm boiling it down to a one-word answer.
Fuck Joe. He's busy catfishing the Discord people and sliding into Twink's DMs. He
Much like people slide into your pussy?
So many people slide into my pussy, it's like Union Station in here. Trains are coming. Clang with the trolley. I don't even know what that means.
Taylor, I'm back, Taylor, and I have a question for you. What did you think was going to happen with 42 looks?
That's why I just did like a little check or remind us. I didn't think you were going to, and you also talked about how you didn't want to necessarily talk about the looks anymore because we have Bring It to the Runway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm glad. Oh my god, this would have been a 5 million hour show. So why don't we do this?
That's what I was trying to do. So I apologize to everybody who wanted my deep fashion know-how about
Taylor.
The looks.
Oh wait. Oh, let me tell you this. No. First of all, I'm editing all that out. But two is no one's gonna know what you're talking about. But two, Christian and Robert wanted to come on with us. I nixed it because I didn't want to wake up this early. And two, it would have been a 4-hour show. And three, I need 2 shows. So
yeah.
So no. But like, I would love to get your opinion. I'm just not good at, I mean, I literally was looking at these looks and I was like, I don't know what's good or what's bad. I mean, there were some that I really liked and some I didn't like.
Well, who did you like? Do you remember who you liked?
Angeria had good looks across the board.
Yes, she was the only one that I liked all three of her looks.
Willow, the other two looks were fine, but that last look, the one that she made in the thing, was really great. That was fantastic. Yes. I thought Maddie looked horrible. Yeah. June looked horrible. Those are just off the top of my head. But everybody else was fine, you know? And so here's my question to you. So we have you in this segment. Why don't we change it up? Why don't you tell me who were, to you, the top 3 look queens?
Across the board?
Well, I'm just saying, like, overall, among the two groups, top 3 look queens.
Okay, so Angeria is definitely, I was slightly surprised that she did not win.
Okay.
I think that was storyline driven, was that they gave Willow Pill the win on that one. I liked all 3 of Diabetes' looks.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, I guess Willow, I did like Willow's, the final look for Willow. I thought it was really awesome. I don't know that I necessarily got Bride from that.
Yeah.
But it was a well-made look, I thought.
I have an interesting question for you. Let's not even think, because the bottoms are clearly, you know, June. Who else was in the bottom for you?
Who else? Well, June was in the bottom. Maddie was in the bottom for me. And I had 2 no's for Lady Camden, too.
Oh, okay.
And Cornbread. Actually, Cornbread, I had no across the board. So Cornbread was actually my least favorite of everybody's.
But let me tell you this, and this is going to my next question, and that feeds into that. Who were you expecting more from and were disappointed?
Cornbread.
Okay.
Cornbread was one that I was really, really disappointed with.
And who were you not expecting much from and you were surprised pleasantly?
Willow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And those are the looks.
Those are the looks.
Those are the looks. And what? Okay. All right, Taylor. Let's go on here on the main stage. RuPaul names Willow Pill the winner of the challenge and places Maddie Morphosis and June Jambalaya in the bottom 2, forcing them to square off in a lip sync battle for their lives. A song, I Love It, by Kylie Minogue. In the end, Maddie Morphosis goes straight through to next week, while June Jambalaya is asked to sashay away, leaving 13 queens in the competition. Taylor the Latte Boy, let's talk about the lip sync. Let's talk about the main stage. Any final and anything you forgot to mention. Any final thoughts on the episode?
I have 4 things.
Go ahead.
4 things that we didn't mention. 1, Alyssa Hunter was, for the most part, completely absent in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think she got any confessional time. And I, with the exception of the runway, kind of forgot she was there, which is not a good sign this early on.
Mm-hmm.
2, let's talk for a moment about the coffee enema thing.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with that? Because that was she seemed... which this is a word that I wouldn't normally use for Ru, out of control.
Mm-hmm. She's done that, but this is not the first time, though. We've seen it a couple of times. Remember that one time when she came into the workroom and she was being super weird? She's done this stuff before. I think it truly is over-caffeination. I really do. Or it could be she's freaking out of the producer because it's so boring, so she's trying to artificially liven it up and make memes on the spot, you know? But I actually, honestly, I believe her. I don't think it was coffee enemas. I think it was just too much coffee. But
would you ever do a coffee enema?
Yeah, I'd do an enema. I do any kind of enema.
Have you done it, like, not like an enema, like a fleet enema, but like an actual, like, going to a place?
No, I've never done it because they're always like, and then they show you everything coming out of your butt. And I'm like, I don't want to. No. Maybe I will, though, because Aiden's coming to town in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll go and get,
She wants to be showroom new.
Yeah. Hey, so, too bad Carson's not here to talk about it. So, what I was going to tell you, go ahead.
No, it just was it was uncomfortable. And like in the beginning, it was kind of funny, but then it kept getting ratcheted up. And then she was just randomly saying, you know, Have you ever had a coffee yet? Like, it just, like, I don't get what she was trying to do other than she realized this is an opportunity, like you said, to like make memes and be
the guest judge, bless her heart, wasn't super interesting. I don't even know what that is. What's Bling Empire? I don't even know what that is.
I think it's a Netflix show.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was. And by the way, she was fine. There was nothing wrong with her, but she just wasn't particularly exciting. And I think, and the cast isn't particularly exciting. And I think she's overly, I really do think she had a lot of coffee. Not coffee enemas, but I do think she had a lot of coffee. And I think that she was like, this is boring. So was just trying to artificially liven it up.
All right. So, one of my last two thoughts was that that lip sync was horrible. Mm-hmm. It was super underwhelming on both parts, but I feel like, again, the only reason they're keeping Maddie around was storyline driven, that they don't want to get rid of the straight guy just yet.
I can see that, but I'll be honest with you. If we're giving the benefit of the doubt to the producers and the judges, June was winning and then got sloppy.
Yeah, it was a sloppy. Her lip sync was very sloppy, but the other one was boring.
That's what I'm saying. If she would have kept her shoes on and not been as sloppy, she probably would have won, I think. Or they would have at least cut it so it didn't look like she win. Yeah. Maddie's going to be in trouble if she has to lip sync again. She's a horrible lip sync. I mean, here's the deal. I've been saying for a while, and I still kind of believe this. I believe Maddie when he says he's straight, right? But I also think he's a 6-pack away from getting a blowjob from a guy. But that said, he does give, and I hate to say this, and I know it sounds gender denying and blah 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 in the spirit of drag, but it does often come off as a dude in a dress.
Yeah.
The way, and what's funny and what's really disappointing to me is I think Maddie is talented enough and smart enough to not have that energy, but does it to keep some semblance of his masculinity. Even though he says he doesn't care, it does seem like a wink and a nod to like, I'm really straight, so I can't really move like a girl, or because it just, I don't know. It really like there's a lot going on there. Now, no, look, he is from Arkansas. Our friend Adam Burns is from Arkansas. And maybe I'm projecting one onto the other, but it just seems that there's a lot going on there that we're not seeing behind the scenes. And it comes off as weird and awkward in the persona.
Yeah. It's not, I'm not seeing a lot of love for Maddie online.
Yeah.
So,
but look, here's the deal. If the most exciting thing about you is that you're straight, I mean,
he had a great look last week, though.
That was a great look, but it was a very costumey look. So now that we're doing fashion, it's like,
well, I don't know. I
would be shocked if Maddie blows me away. I think, I think they also want to see what a straight guy does for Snatch Game. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe that's a good point. My last thought was, now, as we talked about earlier, we definitely have some Nancy Drews in our group. And that is, we also see that there are definite Nancy Drews within the community
Sure.
that watch the show, the large community.
Yeah.
Do you think, now this also goes against what we just got done saying as far as, the manipulation of the candy bars. But do you think that at some point in a couple of episodes, they'll be able to deduce who has a candy bar?
They all have candy bars.
The viewers, no, who has the gold bar? I'm sorry. Who has the actual gold wrapper?
Oh, how would they determine that?
Well, as people go away, I feel like you're going to get like, are they not picking certain people because the producers know they have the gold bar versus wanting to hold off versus possibly, they're going to pick the time at some point. They are never going to let this season go completely through the season with nobody opening the gold bar.
I don't know what I mean there. You're right, because there would be it would be anticlimactic if one of the top 4 has the gold bar.
Right. Unless How would that be though? If one of the top, and then after they lip sync for your legacy or you lip sync for your life, one of them has to open the gold bar and then they stay in the running for the crown. I don't know. I guess it's one of these that at some point we will see, if not in our Discord chat, but somewhere online will they'll say, because of what we're seeing and who's opened their candy bar versus who hasn't opened their candy bar versus all these different things, we have deduced that one of these three has the candy bar.
Yeah.
I haven't quite fleshed that out, but again, I was exhausted watching the show last night. So that might be part of why I wrote that down.
Interesting. I don't know how they would determine that, especially since we discussed. Oh yeah, and you said it countered what we just said, which is it's completely manipulated. Any other thoughts, Taylor?
Yeah. No, that's it.
All thoughts have been given.
All thoughts have been given. All
right. Like I said, the looks are going to be gone over in detail with Christian and Robert over on Bring It to the Runway. Taylor, you're welcome to join. And you can give all your thoughts on the looks there. Are your feelings really hurt, Taylor? Do you need to talk about the in detail, the looks ball?
No. And I apologize to our listeners.
Well, once again, no one's going to hear that. That's why I was like, okay, we'll talk about this off the air, but I was like, just do it. I can just always edit it out later. Lean in. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each and every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14. So for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracrecap@afterthought.media. You can also leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Taylor has another podcast. It's called Pod is My Co-Pilot, and you can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMCTaylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram and Twitter at Joe Betance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen and Zach Birch. Very special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: Agnesia Shopinska, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Coco San Pedro, Declan Prosser, Drew Brooks, E. Smith, Emma, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jesse Harris, Lauren Eckert, Lionel Campbell, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Nicholas Springham, Poppy Woods, Ricardo Herrera, Sarah Yu, Tom Bombs, Travis Newland, Troy Anderson, Zach Nelson, Corinna Williamson, Elizabeth Timmer, Nikki Baker, Robert NYC, and Alexandra Sixt. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.